Hi, it's Melanie, and today I wanted to talk to you about what I learned on the blood sugar detox. So, I've talked a lot about blood sugar in the videos I've been doing over the past few weeks, of course, because I've been part of and helping to coordinate a blood sugar detox for many of my clients. And if you joined me in that detox, I really hope that you learned a lot. I know I've heard from a lot of people that there's just a level of understanding of sugar and how blood sugar itself works in the body that you just maybe got to be able to learn more deeply about. And that definitely actually happened for me as well. And so I'll tell you a little bit about what I learned from testing my blood sugar. Of course, there were delicious recipes, and it's always fun for me to change up my diet and see how I can, still, try something totally new and still make it through the week. It's not overly stressful. It seems really overwhelming at first, but really it's really fun in the end. We tried a great pesto pizza recipe twice because it was so good, and I think I have some new recipes to include in my repertoire. And I actually had a little bit less fruit during the detox, and that was interesting for me as well. I thought, what am I going to eat for snacks if I don't have fruit, at least twice a day? And I had some new recipes to try, an almond and vegetable dip that you puree in the food processor and eat with celery, and there were some new things. So it was kind of nice to get out of my routine, try some new recipes, and learn a little bit about how blood sugar works in my own body. So if you weren't participating, then I hope that you will consider it in the future. We definitely have more programs coming up throughout the spring and summer, so keep an eye out for those as well. So in terms of what I learned for myself, I tested my blood sugar for 10 days, 5 times a day, so that is a lot, but I got used to it pretty quickly. And what we were really looking for were fasting levels, and then during the first 5 days, looking to see how high blood sugar goes after a meal, and then during the second 5 days, looking to see if it comes back to fasting after a meal. So we talk a lot about blood sugar swings. You don't want your blood sugar to go too high or too low. You don't want to have a sugar high. You don't want to have blood sugar crashing. And what was interesting for me is that I didn't really have those highs and lows. I eat a really low glycemic diet anyways. Like I said, I did things to make it even more low glycemic during the past 2 weeks. But I was always well under the kind of the peak number that you want to have after you eat. I was always well under that. I never really had a blood sugar spike, but I also never really got back to fasting levels after my meals. So 2 hours after you eat, you should be back to a fasting level. And a lot of times I wasn't. And what that means is that the glucose is staying in my bloodstream and not getting into my cells. So one thing that I struggle with is my energy levels and fatigue, and having enough energy to get throughout the day. And so it was really interesting for me to learn that my cells aren't necessarily getting what they need. Even though I'm eating really well and I'm not having those blood sugar highs, my cells still weren't taking the glucose into them as readily as they should. So that was a really great learning that I probably couldn't have had if I hadn't actually tested my own blood sugar numbers to see what they were. And other people had the opposite. There's a message board we all can post our results and see what's happening for everyone, all kind of learn together. So other people had much, much lower numbers, and that was kind of that crash that I was talking about, that blood sugar crash where that goes too low, and then you want to find ways to balance your blood sugar. So everybody had a different experience. It was really, really interesting. It's something I highly recommend that you try at some point if you feel like you can't, you've made dietary changes and then you still can't quite figure out what's going on. It's sometimes great to have little experiments like these where you can see a little more deeply into your body what it's actually doing. So it just reminds me of a phrase that my mentor always says. She always says that you're not what you eat, but you're what your body can do with what you eat. And I totally found that to be true for myself over the past 2 weeks, that even though I eat really, really well, if my body's not operating correctly and there's something that it's not able to do, it doesn't matter how perfect my diet is if my cells aren't responding. So anyways, so I'm going to be taking some chromium now, which is a mineral that helps your cells respond to insulin and help get that glucose into them. So everyone, of course, had a different experience, and that was mine. I thought I would just share a little bit of what I learned. Hopefully that was interesting for you. And if you have any other questions for me about blood sugar and or any questions about anything I was talking about in the video, I'd love to hear from you in the comments, and I'll talk to you again soon. Bye.